Hi, everybody, welcome to our channel, The Scary Tales. Our scary and horror stories are designed to send chills down your spine. Enjoy the spine-tingling stories thrill. Here's your horror stories about Cabin in the Woods. 1. The Whispers in the Walls. A group of friends heads to a secluded cabin for a weekend getaway, seeking adventure and some much-needed relaxation. However, they begin to hear strange, almost inaudible whispers at night coming from within the walls. At first, they dismiss it as the creaking of an old cabin. But as the whispers intensify, they begin to recognize personal secrets and memories being recounted, things only they knew. Fearing for their safety, they try to leave, but the door slams shut, and when they turn around, the walls are bricked up. Trapped, they must confront the truth behind the whispers, realizing that the cabin has been feeding on their darkest fears, and that some secrets might never be buried. 2. The Stranger in the Reflection. On a romantic retreat, a couple finds a dusty old mirror tucked away in the attic of the cabin. They clean it up and place it in the bedroom. At first, the mirror seems ordinary, but as they spend more time in the cabin, they notice that the reflection shows something different. A shadowy figure begins to appear behind them, though they're alone in the room. Every night, the figure's presence grows stronger, and soon it starts moving, following them when they leave the room. Desperate to escape, they attempt to break the mirror, but it shatters into pieces, only for the figure to step through, revealing that the mirror was merely a gateway to another dimension. 3. The Cabin that Moves. After a long, tiring hike, a man stumbles upon a cabin deep in the woods. It's small and rustic, but it looks like a perfect spot to rest. However, when he wakes up the next morning, he notices that the cabin is in a different location, miles from where he found it. As he tries to hike out, the cabin keeps moving, always just out of reach. With each night, the cabin moves deeper into the wilderness, and he starts to feel as if the forest itself is alive, controlling his every step. The more he tries to leave, the more the landscape shifts, until he realizes he may never escape. 4. The Thing in the Attic. A family of 4 moves into a cabin they recently inherited from a relative they never met. While exploring the house, they discover the attic, where an eerie atmosphere hangs heavy. Strange sounds begin to echo from above at night, scratching, whispering, and the unmistakable sound of something large moving. At first, they think it's an animal, but upon investigating, the attic is found to be completely empty. That is, until the father wakes up one night to find the attic door wide open and a dark shape crawling down the walls. When he confronts it, he realizes that the creature isn't living. It's the trapped spirit of the relative, seeking to claim his life as its own. 5. The Lantern in the Woods. A lone traveler on a hiking trip in the deep forest stumbles upon an old cabin and decides to stay the night. As night falls, he notices a flickering lantern far off in the woods. Intrigued, he decides to investigate, but when he reaches the spot where he saw the light, there's nothing there. He returns to the cabin, only to see the lantern again, now much closer. Over the following nights, the light comes closer, and the traveler feels watched. One evening, he opens the door to find the lantern on his doorstep, burned out, and with a single, cryptic message carved into the wood: "You are not meant to be here." He realizes that he's being lured into something far darker than he imagined. 6. The Cabin with No Exit. A group of friends rents a cabin deep in the woods for a weekend getaway, but soon after they arrive, a storm traps them inside. As the night grows darker, they notice something strange. No matter which door they open, they're always back inside the cabin. The windows, which once showed the outside world, now display distorted, twisted landscapes. The group begins to panic, trying every exit and window they can find, but nothing works. Each attempt only leads them further into an endless loop of despair, with the rooms growing colder and more suffocating. They soon realize that the cabin isn't just a physical space, it's a trap designed to break their spirits and keep them inside forever. 7. The Visitors Who Weren't There. A man rents a cabin for some solitude, hoping to escape the noise of the world. One night, he hears laughter and footsteps outside his door. He figures it's other campers nearby and tries to ignore it. The next morning, he inquires with the ranger and is told that there are no other visitors in the area. He brushes it off, but that night, the laughter and footsteps return, louder than ever. When he opens the door, he finds no one. Over the course of several nights, the sound of people calling his name from the woods grows unbearable. But no matter how many times he looks, the forest remains empty, with the voices coming from places no one could be. 8. The howling that never stops. A woman rents a remote cabin in the woods for a much-needed break. Every night, she hears howling in the distance, but each night, it sounds closer. As the howling grows louder, she begins to hear scratching noises at the door. She locks herself inside, but the howling never stops. It feels like something is circling the cabin, waiting for the right moment to strike. The next morning, she opens the door to find claw marks inside the cabin, etched into the wood. Horrified, she realizes that whatever was outside has already breached the safety of her cabin, and she's now trapped inside with it. 9. The radio that speaks to the dead. A couple stumbles upon an old, dusty radio in their cabin. When they turn it on, they hear news reports of accidents and strange disappearances in the area. At first, they assume it's just static, but as the days pass, the radio begins broadcasting stories about people who once stayed in the cabin, people who were never seen again. The radio predicts their every move, recounting the couple's conversations and warning them about the danger that's closing in. One night, the radio goes silent, and when they check, the room is empty, except for an eerie broadcast. You are the next to be forgotten. 10. The man in the woods. A group of hikers stumbles across an old cabin while trekking through the forest. They decide to explore, but when night falls, they see a man standing at the edge of the tree line, watching them. He doesn't move, speak, or acknowledge their presence. As the night drags on, they realize the man is getting closer with each passing hour. When they try to confront him, he vanishes without a trace. But in the morning, they find strange marks on the door, as if he's been standing there all night, waiting for them to make a move. The end.